Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Borough, brought to you by FAUOwlsNest.com. My name is Stan Johnston, known as FAU for Show out on the forum here. I'm here with Aaron and Jack. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
So this is the second episode of the season. Our first episode was a pretty awesome experience with Coach Partridge. We thank him for coming on. And today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of some season expectations, see what we kind of want to see this year out of the team, and then kind of dive straight into Tulsa week. It's great to be able to say it's game week, hashtag beat Tulsa. So I'll kind of get started. So this year, I think we've had this year, as far as what I want to see, I'm kind of tired of build-ups. I said this on the forum a while ago, that what I really want to see is some consistency. And, for me, I kind of feel there's no more time for excuses. There's a pretty good post about second-year coaches and how they've all been successful. I think we've had good recruiting classes even before Partridge. So I think Pelini's classes were pretty decent. And I think the classes that we brought in are competitive enough are good enough to compete in Conference USA. There's no reason why we shouldn't be competitive in nearly every single game, except for a handful. If you want to count Marshall or Western Kentucky. So, what are you looking to see or anything like that?
As myself, as a fan, we lost that experience with John Smith graduating. We lost some key guys last year to graduation, and especially I think one of our linebackers went down last year in injury before he graduated. So, this year I want to see our defensive backs. They're very young. They're on a very short, 2-3 games before we get into the Conference USA schedule. They're on a very short learning curve, and especially here in the Conference USA level, they're great at high school. My worry is, can they play at the FBS level and keep up with the speed that they're going to be facing? My expectations, they got to improve. We lost a couple games last year, less than 10 points. So they were on the verge of being bowl eligible if they could have closed out games. So I'm expecting a lot more out of them and to close out games and hopefully be bowl eligible this year.
Yeah, Aaron, in the first episode we had earlier with Coach Partridge, you really talked about how to finish games. So we don't have a program where we really know how to be winners yet. We don't really know how to quite finish games. So I'm right there with you. It's something I definitely love to see this season. I'd love to see one of those games that we finish, a big one, like Marshall, or heck, you can even say Miami, where we can finally get the community involved, get them excited, to show that this isn't the old program of the past where we didn't learn or didn't know how to win games. Now we're at a different level, completely different team, different program, that we deserve the support that they've been fighting for. So, yeah, right there with you. I'm just really hoping for a big program-changing win.
Yeah, and I don't want to go – and we'll kind of talk a little bit about numbers, record-wise, but in a little bit. But one of the things that's always bothered me, and this hasn't been – and I felt this way for probably, I would say 5 or 6 years, really back until to 2007, 2008, is that we've had like those brief moments where we've been relevant and we've had an exciting team to watch, whether it was 2007, even 2008 was a bit of a disappointment, but it ended in a bowl victory. But then we had some sort of support. We had something to root for. And in 2009, we fell on our face. You could even go in that way with basketball, where we had like that brief stint, 2 years where we were kind of relevant, won the conference championship, and then we fell on our face again. One of the things, that I would like to see consistency-wise is, like, if we – obviously it all starts with Tulsa. If we get a win at Tulsa, at least that's some sort of momentum heading into Miami. I'd like to see the Miami game, and we'll talk about Miami next week. But even if we lose that Miami game, that's still one of the things I'm happy about. That is, that's going to get thousands of people that have never been onto campus, and probably a lot of them live in Broward County and Palm Beach County. Thousands of them are going to be on campus for the first time, and they're going to come into our stadium and be like, this place is great. If it's a competitive game and they know that they can come and see a competitive team, that only breeds more community support. But I'd like us to Jack, like you said, get some big wins, close out some games, and then build some consistency. So it's not like, all right, we had a great win, and then we lose 2 or 3 games in a row. And then, all right, we had this amazing comeback victory against Western Kentucky, and then we just lose all of the games following. So I think that would be something that's kind of, my hope is they were able to kind of build on those things, because I think what we've been able to do successfully that the university has done is getting the students, getting these incoming freshmen to understand that football, trying to get them to see football is a big thing. So when they're learning the fight song at orientation, and coach does a video at orientation, so they're getting these kids primed, and then they come in, and hopefully we're able to show them something cool.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with everyone's, what they're saying on that. Definitely building that community support behind it. That's key, especially now after President Kelly had his little tour conversation, which was a huge success. Building up the support, people posting on pictures on the board with like Bed Bath & Beyond, posting their the FAU flyers in there. That's building up that support. But like you said, we have to win consistently. We have to play consistently throughout the season. We can't have one big win, lose 3. We have to win week out of week. And there are going to be some disappointments in the season. There's going to be injuries. It's a rough game that they're playing. We're going to lose, but there's no more time. There's no more learning time for some of these players that were thrown into the fire, so to speak, last year. They've been a year in the program. They got to learn to step up. They got to play consistent from Tulsa through
Old Dominion.
Old Dominion. Thank you.
Through the national championship games. The national after Old Dominion, the conference championship, and then the semifinal, and then the championship.
Yeah,
exactly. I think one of the things, again, that like second-year head coaches, there's not a lot of time, and I think we have the people, we have the players in place to compete. We've got a 3-year starting senior quarterback. Like that alone should weigh a lot. Offense, I think we're going to be fine. Aaron, you were talking about this before, where the defense, will we be able to stop the run? Can we eliminate the big play? Which last year we had a really big problem eliminating the big play. Whether it was a huge running play up the middle at Marshall, easiest play to defend, or just a deep ball can we make those adjustments? Can Charlie Partridge change that this year?
Exactly. I mean, like I said, Trayvon LeBlanc, he's the captain back there of the defensive backs. I think is it Andre Kirk still with us right now, or who's ever? No, whoever the
linebacker is going to be thin. I think defensive line.
Remember his name.
Defensive line will be solid, but if the running back gets through the defensive line,
worries me.
Yeah, that's the definite worry. You got to line up perfectly. You got to make if you see something, you got to call it out, but you got to make those adjustments as soon as the ball snaps within a microbeat, or Devon Johnson is going to bust over another 80-yard run on us, especially here at FAU when they play us. So you guys got to play consistent.
Yep, and the receiver losing Moyes for the year, that worries me as well. How young the receiver corps is now gonna be.
Yeah, Stoshak is probably the only returner, I guess you could say. One of the guys that there's two guys I think that I'm most excited to see, and they're both on offense, is Trey Rodriguez, the running back, which I think running back we're going to be pretty deep. If we can hold on to the ball, then I think running back will be definitely one of our strengths. So Trey Rodriguez, I think, has the potential to be a pretty big playmaker. And then Henry Bussey. I think he's going to be pretty exciting, almost take over that Lucky Whitehead role a little bit. I don't know if he's quite as fast as Lucky, but I'm pretty excited to see what he's got to offer.
I think when I was down at practice, and I know, Dan, you went to a practice. I don't think Jack went to a practice at all, but they were working on ball security drills. They had that strap where they put it around the ball, and the coach was starting to yank it. If you fumbled, so to speak, as a running back, you paid a penalty for it by doing it like a low drill. Because Coach Partridge said it when he was on our show. Turnovers were a big thing last year for us. So that's one thing they were working on from spring camp into fall camp was ball security.
Yeah, I'm not really too concerned about running backs at all. I'm right there with you, Dan. Offense, we're good. Offense line, running back, quarterback, obviously, tight end. A little bit worried. Receivers, a little young. We got to stay healthy. Just holding on to the balls is really important. I'm right there with you guys.
So as far as, again, I'm not a big fan of going game by game and thinking about what our record is going to be. I'll say personally, anything. I think an honest expectation this team could win 7 games. If we don't win 6 games, I guess to give Charlie some benefit of the doubt, if we win 6 games, we won twice as many as we did last year. But that would almost be a disappointment. And if we anything less than 6 games is going to be, I think there would need to be some serious changes, whether it's whatever the biggest problem was, defense or offense. But I really think 7 wins and a bowl, it's time. It doesn't matter. There's no more excuses. It's time. We've got the stadium now. We've got the recruiting classes. It seems as if we've got the coach, the community and the athletic director that are they're doing so much to pump everything up. It's time for the team to be the one that steps up. The community is right there waiting. If we put a good product on the field, I feel the community is going to be there, but it has to be consistent. And to me, I think it's time. There's no more development years. There's no more down years. It's time for us to take that next step.
I have to agree, Dan. It's like I said, it's time. and I mean, the fan base has been patient enough, especially with the new stadium open, the new staff in place. We got to be bowl eligible this season, definitely.
You can definitely feel the community is ready to bust out of the seams, just waiting for something. You can see the students, like you're talking about with orientation, how excited they're getting. You can definitely feel it on campus, the anxiousness. You guys put it best. It is time. You know, it was rough with the Pelini incident, setting us back a few years. It was rough, you know, with Schnellenberger staying here a little bit longer than maybe what, you know, could have been best for the program. But it is definitely time for us to finally turn the corner, and you can feel it. That time is coming, and hopefully it's coming sooner than later.
Yeah. So we'll kind of shift gears a little bit and move really right into Tulsa. So last year, what was the score? 50-21.
Yep, 50-21.
Yeah.
The final score is a blowout. I think
with a deluge at the end of it.
A lot of people think that game, you know, it's like, oh, we blew up, Tulsa sucked. I think that early on in the game, that game was closer than most people think. If Tulsa didn't turn the ball over so many times, if you remember, they had a couple big turnovers. We had an onside kick that we recovered. They turned the ball over, I think, on like the 5-yard line right before the half. You know, like I think that game was a lot closer than it not necessarily like it was coming down to the wire, but if people think we're going to walk into Tulsa and blow them out just like we did before, I think it's going to be a much tougher atmosphere this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got their quarterback returning. They got a lot of their starters returning. They have the Jack mentioned when we were talking about this earlier. They got a brand new head coach who was down there at very explosive Baylor. So I mean, I think originally Vegas set the line at 21. It got knocked down to we're 7-point underdogs. So in order to definitely beat Tulsa, we have to play smart. We have to hold on the ball. And you have to play consistent from the first whistle to the last whistle. You can't have any mental mistakes. I know it's going to be the first game of the season. There's going to be some mistakes, but you can't have too many of them, or otherwise we're going to fall behind and we're going to be playing catch-up the whole game.
Yeah, talking about the new coach, Philip Montgomery, he was the former offensive coordinator at Baylor, did coach RG3 during his Heisman years. Before that, he was the quarterback coach at Houston in the middle thousands, from 2004 to 2007, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though. So you know that he knows how to put up points. You know, he loves the spread. You know, he loves the spread option. He loves to throw the ball. He's going to spread you out and attack. He's going to go quick. Our defense needs to be ready for that. What is it? Evans, our quarterback. He was our quarterback last year. Yeah. It seems like he's going to start again this year. They do have a solid backup and a freshman, a dual threat freshman coming in who are going to be pushing him hard. But it definitely seems like any day now he's going to be awarded the starting job. Kevon Lucas worries me to a bit. He's on the Blennikov, the best wide receiver watch list, basically.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He played well last year. He's a junior. He's expected to play very well this year. I mean, just everywhere, with Montgomery coming in, quarterback wide receiver tandem is going to be one of the best in the American Conference. Their offense really doesn't have that many weaknesses. I mean, the only weakness really that I could find is the running back by committee. But is that really any better than ours?
I read that their offensive line should be serviceable. I think they should have been better what they were last year. But from what I read, they should definitely be serviceable and provide enough time for Evans and whichever running back they have. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a bit of a it's going to be a lot more difficult. It being the first game of the year, new head coach. You know that they're going to be more hyped. And I think, Jack, then you said there's going to be a whiteout.
Yeah. Their program, the university, selling white shirts. They're all over their social media saying it's a whiteout. So hopefully we can ruin the excitement for them up there at Chapman Stadium.
Those blue or white out, red out things, they never seem to work for us anymore. They worked in the beginning against FIU in the red outs, but not anymore. So the depth chart was released today, and there's not many surprises. The only, I guess, if I'm looking at it now, probably Buddy Howell is listed ahead of Jay Warren. I don't know if that's that big of a surprise. I think we'll really be running back by committee, and I think they'll both see a ton of action. I'm not super surprised about that. Jason Driscoll won out the backup quarterback spot against Daniel Parr, which I'm totally fine with. If we can keep Parr around, if we can redshirt Parr, that would be awesome.
I agree.
Going to be a stud. Trying to see if there's nothing really that jumps out. Our punt returners and kick returners are Cravon LeBlanc and Henry Bussey will be returning kicks. So that's what did we have last year? I know Dijon was returning punts, and I think he started at the end of the year started returning kicks. I can't remember, but
I think it was also Lucky. Lucky was returning kicks on punts too.
Yep, and that's Lucky's doing a pretty good job of that now for the Cowboys over in Dallas.
That touchdown. I always get so hyped.
They catch it.
FAU players succeed in the NFL. Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm excited to see Cravon return punts and kicks because he seems pretty fearless and he's fast. So they'll maybe we'll get that elusive kickoff return for a touchdown that we never had.
We got the punt return last year. Now we just need the kickoff return.
Need that kickoff return. So,
going back to the depth chart a little bit and the Tulsa, I mentioned earlier how I am a bit concerned with the wide receiver, especially with Moyes out for the year, how young we're going to be. Thankfully, Tulsa's defensive backs are expected to struggle yet again. Their strength in their defense is probably going to be their D-line. Linebackers seem to be much improved, but if we're going to really beat Tulsa, we're going to have these receivers, like you said earlier, Aaron, to be ready. We're not going to have any time for these guys, for the receivers, to get ready for the conference or games, whatever, because we're going to need them right away. We're going to need them right away for Tulsa. We're going to need them right away for Miami, obviously, to perform to their highest potential.
Mm-hmm. There was really nothing that shocked me about the depth chart either, except for losing a couple guys on the O-line. Our offensive line is pretty much solid. Should give Quez plenty of time, to look downfield to make that decision. Because believe it or not, since he's come on board, board, except for maybe a few interceptions he threw and some fumbles. He's been relatively great at the quarterback position because he makes good decisions with the ball for the most part.
One of the things that I'm going to be looking for this year, I think when his sophomore year, the first year he was here, whenever he would make a read, like he never went through a progression. Like he would lock onto one receiver and then throw to that receiver. Last year he did a little bit better where he would look away, but he would look so quickly at his receiver. This year, hopefully, he's gotten even more comfortable with the offense and as a quarterback to know that he can look people off of coverage. Because I remember like freshman year, like you knew or sophomore year, his first year, you knew exactly where the ball was going every single time. So I'm hopeful that he had such flashes of greatness last year, and hopefully he was another. Last year was all about inconsistency. We were so inconsistent on defense. We were so inconsistent on offense and quarterback play. And hopefully, last year defense, especially at linebacker, we were just decimated by injuries. Hopefully this year we can kind of avoid that, and we have a little bit deeper roster than we have in the past.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's the defensive backs I'm going to be looking at. They're so minus Craybon. They're so young this year, except for maybe one other guy. They're so young this year. They gotta play at the potential, and their learning curve, like Jack was telling me before we start, is extremely short.
So Jack, what do you think the game will be? This is kind of the stereotypical key points almost. What do you think the game is going to be won or lost for FAU against Tulsa?
Oh man, I think this is going to sound so cliche. I think it's whether or not we can score more points than they can. I think both.
That is excellent observation.
There you go. Great analysis, don't you think? Both passing defenses are going to worry me. The defensive backfields on both sides aren't as strong as they could be. I think we have the talent at DB, obviously, but the inexperience in the youth and how thin it is worries me a bit. Their offense is going to be high octane. Our offense is going to be high octane. They're going to run the spread. We're going to run like a power spread type of formation. Both of us are going to utilize deep throws. Both of us are going to utilize a zone read type of option. So it's going to be a shootout. So, I mean, again, whether or not we can limit turnovers and just be able to cash in on most of our drives.
Yeah, finish. And I think that seems to be one of Coach's big things this year is how can we finish? So finish drive, finish the game, finish the season strong, which we were not able to this year. So I think that about wraps it up for us. One of the things I wanted to point out is FAU football just on Twitter, they posted their uniforms for the game. Voted on by the Unity Council, Unity Tribe.
Unity Council. It's kind of the captains. Captains are for seniors as well. The Unity Council also includes underclassmen who represent the team on certain platforms. The FAU Twitter page just released what the Unity Council is. It's really cool to know that they also include some underclassmen, some of the younger guys. And picking, some pretty important things like this, like the uniform combinations.
Yeah, so go check that out. And they go check out the helmet. The helmet looks like we got a new helmet. I'm curious to see what it looks like in person. Looks pretty beautiful.
It is pretty nice.
So
yeah,
check that out. Check them out on Twitter. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free. You can email us at insidetheborough@gmail.com or check us out on Twitter. We're mostly active on Twitter at Inside the Borough. And then, as always, check out everything for game week, for everything game prep, everything at FAUOwlsnest.com. So for Jack and Aaron, again, I'm Dan, and we'll see you next week. And go Owls.